Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. Quint here, founder and managing director of Jewel Financial. And every once in a while, I like to take a break from markets and finance or the economy and talk to someone who I think is pretty darn special. We did that with the University of Kentucky quarterback, Will Levis, a few months ago, prior to him being the superstar. I'd like to think that we basically discovered him.
Amen.
I mean, pretty much, we pretty much discovered him. And so he's obviously been an outstanding young man, an unbelievable staple now in the community of Lexington and for the University of Kentucky. It's just amazing. But I want to take a little derivation from that today, and I asked a very good friend of mine to come in and chat with us today about politics. Now, before you just lose your mind, we're not having a political discussion. It's not what we're doing. But I'm always intrigued and quite honestly I'm admirable of anyone who is willing to move out into the front of, I don't know, the stage, if you will, the political stage, and try to make a difference. I chose those words very carefully. So today we have a very good friend of mine, Amanda Mays Bledsoe. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Amanda is currently a councilwoman here in Lexington. If you are a Fayette County resident, you probably know Amanda and her story. We'll talk about that in a moment. But she also is now going to be running or is running for state senate. Is that correct? So give us a little bit of your background. Tell us. There's a lot of people that are going to be watching this they're not from here, but that's okay. There are people that are from here, and they're going to be watching this. So who are you? What do you do now? Whatever you want to talk about. Who are you? Who's Amanda?
That's a really big question.
It is a big question, but you take it however you want.
So I'm a fourth-generation Lexingtonian. Been here my whole life. Grew up in Lexington. Went to college in Michigan. Came back to go to grad school at UK and stayed. And
what did you study in grad school?
I went to the Patterson School of Diplomacy, so Master's in International Affairs, National Security Policy.
Yeah.
And loved it. I was there during 9/11, so we spent our entire time really talking about the changing dynamics. Terrorism was a disruptor in the national security world, and that was a fascinating time to be in, to study it in real life. So I did that. I worked at the Council of State Governments from the Patterson School, and spent 6 years working on public policy all over the country. Did lots of different issues, from the environment to homeland security to leadership development. And then when Todd and I got married, I took a step back and did more nonprofit work, taught at BCTC and Midway.
What did you teach there?
Homeland security, what it means to the first responders.
Really?
Believe it or not. And what's so funny about being on the city council is that I'm seeing it real life. There's national security issues abroad, but when it comes down to our security here, it is our police, our fire, our EMS, and those are, of course, city employees. So it was a really fascinating tie that I got to study and teach on before I actually became a council member.
All right, so take a step back for me, if you will. So you were working, you were traveling the country, you were doing everything. You ended up marrying Todd Bledsoe, very good friend of mine as well, fraternity brother of mine from University of Kentucky. And that was in 2005, New Year's Eve. I remember that. And so then you decided to do nonprofit work and so forth and kind of take a step back, start a family, all that great stuff.
So we have two children, Annabeth and Maze. They're now in 8th grade and 5th grade.
Wow.
So when they were young, I did a lot of nonprofit work, served on assurance board, helped start Her Night Dance, was on the board at Christian Student Fellowship for a number of years, and really got a chance to do really good work in Lexington, which was fun. It was flexible. It was impactful. It made a difference in people's lives. And I got a chance to be with the kids, which, considering Todd still travels 60-70% of the year, having one of us at home, more stably was important.
All right. I want to take a break, though, real quick, because I don't want to skirt over some of the things you mentioned, because all those organizations are great, and I think it's a good opportunity to give them a little bit of a plug here, because I've supported Assurance for a long time. Assurance, what's a crisis pregnancy center or something like that? What's the full name? Do you know? Assurance Crisis, I don't know, something like that.
Assurance for Life, I think, is technically.
There you go. And their general
they're a medical facility and counseling services when you are pregnant, think you may be pregnant, and are looking for help.
Yeah.
So they do medical care as well as counseling for men and women who find themselves unexpectedly pregnant, needing resources.
And I know this is a strange topic to talk about, but they're trying to say, hey, instead of abortion, right? maybe there's options. There's and that's an amazing organization. So that's number one that you were working with. What would you do there? Were you on the board? Or
yeah, I was on the board.
Okay. And then Her Night Dance. I didn't know you helped start Her Night Dance.
I did. So that's
amazing. Her Night Dance is ridiculous.
So that came out of a conversation at Assurance. In a good way.
Yeah.
So me and a couple of the girls who you would know, there's 4 of us, were really talking about how do we not have girls show up in a very early age pregnant. And you can take away demographics, you take away race, you take away economics background, you take away lots of barriers, and the common thread was a lack of a father figure in their life early, giving self-esteem, giving attention, love, affection, all those things. And we said, what can we do to better help dads and daughters or uncles or whoever plays that night in a girl's life establish that before they're 14? They need to have that way early on. And it's hard. If your daughter plays sports or in certain activities, you may coach, you may have an active presence. But if you don't have that natural time together, how do you start it? And so the Her Night Dance started really as a way to provide an easy evening for dads and daughters or knights and daughters to show up, have it be worry-free, planned for them, everything done, to have an amazing experience, in the hope that they would leave that night and they would have, we want to do more of these. We want to have coffees. We would leave them with activities for the next year, ice cream, hikes, going to games, giving them questions to ask over dinner. So they would continue to build that relationship early on, and it would be continual. And it has been, that first year we thought, will anyone buy these tickets?
Oh my gosh.
We had 300, and it was like,
it was like scalping.
And then it continued to grow. And it was just, God was so good in so many ways, because people would come to the dance and say, you need help, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
And now we're at Keeneland, where we've been growing the dance. Now there's 5 of them on a weekend, which is incredible. Hundreds and hundreds of girls who have now gotten married and talked about, how they went to the dance years ago. It's
singular in mission. I'll tell you, as we look to support organizations, one of the things that Brandy and I look at is how focused and single is the mission. So many organizations, we're getting way off topic, but that's okay. So many organizations try to do way too much. And you're like, well, what's your mission? And they're like, well, we do this, and we do this, and we do this, and we do this. And you go, oh, okay, thanks, good luck. Single mission. It's like reminded me of the cakes. What was that? Shoot. The birthday cake.
The birthday cakes, yes. There's a name for that. Baby cakes keeps coming to mind.
Anyways, do you remember, Jordan? Do you know? Sweet Blessings.
Sweet Blessings.
Thank you.
That's it.
I mean, what an incredible single mission focus. We make birthday cakes for kids that wouldn't normally get a birthday cake. Okay, let's move on. These are great. So it's important. You help start Her Night. So Assurance, Her Night, and you mentioned one other.
The Christian Student Fellowship at UK.
Oh, yeah, and on campus. Unbelievable work they're doing over there.
Unbelievable.
Okay, now, fast forward. Then one day, you woke up and you were like, oh, let's run for city council. I mean, come on. How does that happen? Well, I mean, seriously. Because I've been around you, and I can genuinely say this is not BS. It's not like you were doing. A lot of people do this. Oh, I'm involved in this. Let's get some photo ops, and here I am, and then I'm going to parlay this into whatever, politics or college education. People, students do this. I volunteered here once. Like, come on. But you were doing this. You were in the weeds. And then you somehow made a transition to council. Talk about that a little bit. Why and how and whatever.
I think it was several things, but one of the things that made a difference to me is I looked at who was serving on the city council at the time, and a wonderful group of people.
You were like, they're crap. I'm just kidding.
No, but I did feel
you just said they were wonderful.
They were lacking some voices I felt like needed to have a voice.
Who is that?
I think
one thing I'm going to do, Amanda, is cut through political speak.
I think the average age was well over 60.
Okay, so you were looking and saying...
And there were no one with young kids on council.
Okay.
And I looked at myself, I had at that time 6 and 2-year-old, and we were at parks talking about why aren't there green spaces for kids to play soccer? Why isn't this thing over here fixed, the playground equipment? Why are they focusing so much on downtown things, maybe not on issues that are further out in the burbs, if you will, or further out the south side? And it was just kind of a conversation we'd had. It wasn't necessarily the reason why I ran, but it was something I'd been thinking about for a long time. And I had been approached at different times to run for council, and at the time never felt right. Didn't feel like the timing was right to do so. But the time that I was thinking about what to do next, several people kind of said, hey, you should really reconsider this. And I thought, maybe I should reconsider actually doing it and not just talking about it. And so I sat down and spent 30, 40 days talking to people that I respected and said, do you think I'd be qualified? Do you think I could make a difference? would I actually be able to impact people's lives in the same way that I'm doing in nonprofit work? And the result to me was, I think we need conservative, thoughtful, fiscally responsible voices, public safety champions downtown, and ones who have a different perspective with young kids who are facing a different world than I grew up with. You know, as a fourth generation Lexingtonian, my dad went to Lafayette. I went to Lafayette. The world I grew up in was different than the kids mine are in, yours are in right now. And the challenges they have and the opportunities they have are just vastly different. And the city should reflect that. So that in large part is why I ran.
Yeah. What year did you run?
2014.
Okay. Let's shift gears. You lost your father early in your life. What year did you lose your dad?
2005.
2005. And what happened? He had cancer?
He had multiple myeloma.
And your father was a staple in the community.
He was.
Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I miss him terribly. He grew up in Lexington, was at Lafayette. He was the quarterback of the football team, on the debate team, won all kinds of awards statewide. He was the Governor's Cup, type of a champion, and had a lot of potential. And people assumed he would do politics, actually. And he talked to me years later, and he really felt this call between his life: do I serve in politics or do I serve in the church? And felt like God was calling him to be a minister. And so that's what he did. And he was preaching at 14 at the steps at Hillendale Christian Church there. And when Wayne, at 14, my dad was.
Can you imagine Joshua, my 14-year-old son, preaching on the steps?
No, I can't. I mean,
he was a great kid, but
he was incredible.
Yeah.
Just his gifts and his depth and his love of people. He was just gifted. And so he served, went to ministry, went to Cincinnati, came back when actually Wayne Smith, who started Southland, actually the house he knocked on Hillendale was it was the first house he knocked on was Pop's. And so Dad was 4 and 5, and Pop said, well, okay, you're going to have a church next door, we'll come. And so we did. And that's how our church, our family got involved in Southland. And when Wayne had his second accident, they called him, my dad, and said, will you come back and be the number 2 at Southland? And so he was for 25 years.
And so he had cancer, passed in 2005. So he obviously not ever got to witness any of your political career.
No.
What do you think he would say about this whole career you've been on? And
I hope he'd be proud.
Yeah. Now your mom is here, and she's an amazing individual, and so she supports you.
She does.
I'm sure someone who you go to and bounce ideas off of and so forth. And what does she think about all this and the path you're on?
Well, I asked her before we even started, because having young kids and Todd's travel schedule, if she wasn't going to help me, I thought there's no way logistically I'll be able to serve without having a whole lot of help. And I'm thankful for your wife and many of my other women who stepped up when I needed childcare and babysitters and help picking up kids, dropping kids off for extra meetings or meetings that were supposed to last a few minutes. And so I asked my mom, if I do this, will you help me? Like, legit help me on these days that I need to be downtown. And she was like, I just view this as another part of ministry. And so she was all in. And that has really been, she's been the person that I call when I'm upset or when I'm frustrated. I need someone to kind of bring me back to the basics. And when I get worked up on the campaign trail or nervous, because it becomes a very paranoia type place, you're wondering, how am I doing? Are the people receptive? And she said, I'll never forget it. When I was going door to door, she said, Amanda, just be you. You're enough. Just be you. And so she's that real basic person. I mean, she's the core. She is true to herself, and she will bring you back to who you are.
You may not know this, but early in my career, 2002 or 2003, I had some big business decisions to make, and your mother gave me extremely wise counsel in what to do and how to do it. And it was not just in that particular decision, but 2 years later, when the decision was to come back to Lexington and, forge on with the business myself and go back in, I flew up here and had a lunch meeting with her, and she gave me counsel. Like, it was an unbelievable God thing during that period. She's an amazing woman.
She's one of the wisest women that I know.
Yeah. Well, that's great to have her in your corner. I'm sure your father would be looking down, and is very proud.
He'd be running the campaign. As my dad's friends have all said, he would be out there leading the charge.
All right. So let's shift back here, gears. We get all emotional. I'm starting to get a little emotional myself. But anyways, let's focus. Here we go. Okay. So you've crushed it in council. You've been in council now for how long?
This is my 4th term.
All right. Give me some highlights. And it's okay. Humble brag a little bit.
Humble brag. So when I first got on council, you're the new person. You just try to do the best for your district, and you work really hard. And the coolest part of council is seeing things that you worked into the budget that very first year that now you're seeing dirt turn and projects being completed. For me, this is my 7th year. So 3 years ago, I was elected chair by my colleagues of the Budget, Economic, and Finance Committee, which I'm the first female and the first district person to hold that role, which is pretty important. There's only 4 chairs on council that run committees, and obviously the budget is important, and what we do with economic development is critical. And so leading that charge has been pretty amazing for me and a real strong privilege for the last couple of years. Those are a couple things.
That's amazing.
I've served on every committee and pension or council or commission I think the city has, to be honest with you, but it's been fun. It's been real fun.
What is your competition? What are they going to say you don't have? So let's shift gears. You're now running for a state Senate seat, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that. I mean, what are you running for? What is the district? All that.
Sure.
Good
so
stuff.
Senator Alice Forget-Kerr, who's been there for 23 years, she was an amazing woman. I've known her for my whole life. In fact, I coached her granddaughter in soccer with Annabeth. And so she's been a friend of mine for a long time.
You coached soccer as well.
I did.
Yeah, in your spare time.
In my spare time.
Okay.
We didn't do very well.
Okay,
But that's okay.
well, hey, that's okay. Throw
right.
it in there. Whatever. What don't you do? I mean, seriously.
There are a few things. She decided not to seek re-election.
Okay.
And I have worked with her, obviously, as a council person. She represents right now a third of my whole seat and then 2 other council districts. And so she's someone that I've gone to a lot on issues that affect the state, the city, back and forth. And when she decided not to run, a number of people said, hey, I think you'd be a really good fit. And the Senate District 12 kind of goes right now, until we see what redistricting does, from kind of Versailles Road all the way over to Polo Club. I mean, it's kind of the south end of Lexington, if you will. It's only Fayette County. Mm-hmm. So it's got about 120,000 people in it. And I've represented about a third of them in the last 7 years.
How many people are running for this seat?
There are 3.
So
in the primary, and then of course there'll be a general.
What are they going to say? What are they going to say about you? Meaning you can't. I'm better than Amanda Mays Bledsoe. Why?
That's a good question. I think they'll try to use my experience against me.
Your experience,
I guess.
I mean, you just mic dropped like 20 years of amazing experience. That's going to backfire. What else?
I think there's on council, you take hundreds of votes.
Wait,
right?
I want to stop right there, because here's the deal. If you are a Fayette County resident and you are looking at this young woman and saying she lacks experience, what she lacks experience in is the nonsense political world where crap doesn't get done.
That's true.
But, that may be where you lack experience, but starting massive organizations, actually impacting change, that stuff, we want to get stuff done. Yeah, well, she does have experience in that world. All right, so what else are they going to say? Because that ain't going to fly.
I don't know. In Lexington, you can say Lexington's I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. I've been that my whole life. Council is nonpartisan. So I've been real careful the last 7 years not to be overtly partisan, because I think that Fayette County respects that piece of how we work. And so there are a number of people who are like, oh, I didn't know she was conservative, or I didn't know she was a Republican. And, out of thousands of votes, will people agree with everyone? No, I would hope not, because I'm not perfect. And there's votes I look back on and say, man, if I thought about that differently, would I have made different choices? Would I know now what I know then? Could I have voted differently or gone a different way strategically? Sure. Or people look at one vote and don't see the long game.
Yeah.
And you can take lots of pieces and say, well, she voted against this or she voted against that, maybe. Or I probably did, but there's a reason behind it. The long game was this, and this is what I'm proud of. So those are little things here and there, but I do think I have the most experience. I think I'm the most qualified, and I think I have the strongest record to be effective from day one.
Okay, here's what I want to ask you. I want to make sure I craft the question thoughtfully, but it's probably what most sane people are thinking, or the question that they would have for you. Why would anyone with the qualifications that you have to work anywhere, to do anything, to come home at 5 o'clock and, whatever, coach a soccer team and, pour yourself a nice glass of wine and call it a night and whatever, why would you or anyone in that category want to insert yourself into all of the nonsense that goes on in the political arenas?
Because it matters. It matters who's at the table. And I'll tell you, when I've been in the room, when policy is being decided, when decisions are being made over how to proceed and how we're going to impact people's lives, and that's everybody from the taxpayer to the people who work at the city and the services they provide, who you have at that table makes a difference. And having been at the table and seen decisions where I thought I did impact change, and it did have a better outcome, I think, than if I had not been present. Little things to big things. Now I'm very concerned about who's sitting at the table in lots of areas in politics and in different roles. And so for me, am I looking forward to the chaos of politics and the shaming or the bad stuff? No, I'm not. I am more concerned than ever about my kids' safety and what they see or what they hear or what they think or what they're exposed to in different ways, because now they're older and they see things differently than they were when they were younger, obviously. But I still think it's worth it, because I think being at the table and who we have at that table matters.
So I asked Amanda to come in today, and maybe you're watching this and you're thinking, Quint, aren't you the investment guy? Like, you're the CNBC, you're the investment advisor for my accounts or whatever it may be. Why are you doing this? And I will tell you that I still believe, maybe it's ignorance, but I still believe that quality, character, integrity within an individual in a political arena can actually make a difference. I still believe that. Now, many of you watching this are like, good luck. Good luck with that. I really do believe that. And I believe that if we give up on that as a society, it's over. It's a fight right now. It is a fight to try and keep character, integrity, moral, all of that in the forefront. It's a fight. But I believe if we stop fighting, then it's over and we've lost. So I asked Amanda to come in because I know her character. I know the integrity. I know why she's doing this. It's not to say, look at me, I'm a politician and, better seat at the table. I don't know, whatever that means. No, it's about trying to fight for what's right. And I think that's fantastic. And I think, I wouldn't have, if I just thought the state was it for you, I probably wouldn't have brought you in, because this is a big time. You're in Will Levis's seat. Let's just call it what it is. There's winners that sit there.
There are
big time winners.
Big time.
So I think we're looking at an individual who not only will succeed exponentially in the state level, but will go far beyond that. And we'd love to continue to have you back, talk about this, etc. Is there anything else as we wrap up here? Is there anything else you want to share with the viewing audience about your thoughts, who you are, etc.?
No, I'm not perfect. There's a lot of things in anybody's life you look back on and say, man, those were poor choices or things you wish you would have done differently. And I'm honest about that. Good night. The more you think you're unworthy to sit in a certain seat, I am. I don't think I'm any more worthy than anybody else. But, goodness, what I've promised is that I'll work exceptionally hard. And I will always answer the phone call. I've answered defended my vote to anybody who's ever called and said, what was your thinking behind these issues, or why did you vote this way? Because I think that's important. So I'm going to continue to be an advocate. I'll continue to be accessible, to work really hard, to know the issues, and do what I think is right for Lexington and the state overall.
When will it be?
May.
Okay.
The May primary.
So the May primary, if you are a Fayette County, a Republican, so Fayette County registered Republican, in May you have the opportunity to vote. Please get out and vote.
Please
because
do.
This is a quality individual. I certainly stand behind and will support her family, her efforts in perpetuity. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching this. Share this with friends, family, etc. I think, again, nobody will argue we're sitting with one of the probably greatest individuals from character, integrity, moral compass, you name it, that we know in the political arena. So again, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Make it a great day.